Hi, I'm Jerry Massey, and for 13 years I've documented clergy sex abuse of children in Christian fundamentalism. Um, and this year, a mass has been found on my liver, and it's been a long, slow process to get this diagnosed. So I've had the ultrasound, which found that the mass was an isoechoic mass. I don't know what that means. My friend Terry knows what that means. It means, I think it means it's like the tissue that is surrounding it, which if as far as the ultrasound can take it, that was good news. Then I had an MRI, and the first report on the MRI was pretty bland as well, that they didn't see cancer. They, based on what they didn't see, they ruled out a few types of cancer, but then basically said it was still unknown. And then I was assigned an oncologist at UNC Hospital, and he's very good, very kind man. He called me to talk about the case with me briefly before he had reviewed the MRI. He reviewed the MRI, and he did note, I want to say this correctly, because he did not say it looks like I have bile duct cancer. It wasn't that strong of a suggestion, but he said there was an area that was concerning for bile duct cancer. And again, I went to my friend Terry, who understands all this stuff because she is a cancer survivor. And she told me, she said to the effect that his job is to look for signs of cancer. And that's what he's doing. He's looking for signs of cancer. So he sees something that is consistent with cancer. And then she read me, I think it was her latest, maybe CAT scan or MRI, where the radiologist said, this is cancer. And somebody else said, this is cancer. And the doctor said, this is cancer. And then upon further inspection, it wasn't cancer. And my own vet, Dr. Joy Bolin, she is a Christian woman who's been praying for me, and she, like most people, loves my dogs, and because my dogs look like a little panda bear and a little polar bear, and she's just a very kind woman. She told me the same thing. She said that she, even like submitting dog um, reports for pathology, what they see on ultrasound, what they see on CAT scan or MRI. She said all the time, these people, and she said it's not that they're wrong or that they're careless. They have to look for what could be cancer. And she said it's very frequent. They will find things that look like cancer, and then it turns out no cancer. So once the C word has been mentioned, when you've got this and it's on your liver, which is one heck of a place to have cancer. When I was a teenager, liver cancer was almost 100% fatal. So once the word is said, it can't be unsaid, and it's really on your mind, and it has been. And one reason that I want to do these videos is, of course, to inform my friends and loved ones of what is going on. But from 2001 until 2014, late 2014, oh, my dogs are going to start barking. Here comes the trash truck. They've got to protect the house from the trash truck. Oh, they're too fascinated. Good. From 2001 through 2014, I was very active in documenting these cases, and since then have dealt with a lot of, I keep calling them young people. They're younger than I am, but a lot of them now are in their 40s. Oh, well, I'm just going to keep calling them young people. They grew up in fundamentalism. They were abused in fundamentalism and neglected over their abuse. Their abuse was not properly addressed, and sometimes it was very, very badly addressed, that even their parents blamed them, that at the age of 9, the pastor sexually molested them. I mean, this is the culture that I'm talking about. So I know I have several people from that culture who have been fed a counterfeit version of Christianity, which is what I consider fundamentalism to be. Yes, surely there are true believers, people who truly believe in Christ and love others in Christian fundamentalism. But when you get down to its doctrine and especially its practices, it is a counterfeit of what Christianity is, because Christianity, the prime mover of Christianity, well, obviously is Jesus Christ. But if we talk about that prime virtue of Christianity, it is charity. There cannot be any other prime virtue. But fundamentalism, the type of fundamentalism in which I was educated, the prime virtue or the prime mover is separation, which is like almost the opposite of charity. So there are times when separation is necessary. And in fact, one of those times is when the preacher is raping kids and the church isn't doing anything about it. That church needs to be put out of fellowship, and that doesn't happen at all. That has never happened. I documented 108 cases. I never even saw in 108 cases, I never saw a pastor disciplined for raping a child. So anyway, but to these young people, I want them to see a more authentic Christian experience of serious illness, and and if it comes to that, death. And so that's another reason I'm making these videos. And so I want to review, yeah, the minute the C word was said, I got a lot more scared and started taking this a lot more seriously. And though, it's really odd, it's really paradoxical. On the other hand, I let go of a lot of stuff. When it really came down to it, and cancer was staring me in the face, I don't have good blood. My blood circulation is not good. And so my Chinese doctor has always said, don't eat chocolate. Chocolate is actually very hard on your blood. I started drinking Creo brew. He's also told me don't drink milk. And I have to say, dairy products do give me headaches and block my sinuses. So I do have to stay away from dairy. Like I probably eat maybe 10% of the dairy that other people eat. I have a little bit of half and half if I have Creo brew. Creo brew is actually roasted ground cacao beans that you make like you would make an espresso drink. So I started drinking that again, not every day because I knew I would actually feel sick if I did that, but twice a week I started having that. I started eating some gluten products again. Like I just thought, what, this was going to happen to me anyway. This was going to happen to me no matter what I did. So I'm not going to be quite as strict with myself. But then I also did start to consider seriously death. And again, I talked with Terry about that because I was thinking maybe I'm being too morbid, but she said, no, that's normal, that you would do that once you get confronted with a serious diagnosis. So I have been thinking a lot about death because if this is, the beginning of that journey, I don't want to go in an inauthentic way, and I don't want to go in a cowardly way. I want to be brave about it and forthright and honest. And so there's somebody on Facebook who is, or maybe TikTok, it's a nurse and she's a hospice nurse and she produces short videos even with samples from consenting patients who were dying when they were filmed, showing different stages of what they go through. And this has been somewhat helpful. I have to say, as we're getting closer to the biopsy, which is tomorrow, last night I didn't feel like watching any of those videos, so I didn't. But I have to say it was helpful. And watching sacred choral music has really helped me. And I know I'm saying this in an age of silly pop gospel music, which I despise. But there is a Sanctus by Gounod, who is probably best known for giving us the most popular version of the Ave Maria. But Sanctus is just a beautiful, beautiful hymn. It's in Latin, and I know this much Latin, but coming from a Roman Catholic childhood, I understand the words to the Sanctus. It's part of the Mass. So I've really enjoyed those. I've really benefited from those. But, I have to admit sometimes, especially at night, when I was thinking about it, my heart runs cold. My heart turns cold. And then I asked the Lord to please get my mind out of the swamp, because whatever we go through, at some point, faith just has to kick in. And then the other thing is I've come to recognize, and this, I have a wonderful Christian neighbor, Carolyn, and this, I think I got her a little bit upset about this, but I do want to say this for the young people for whom I was able to provide information and help at one time. Yeah, I really don't like being a sinner. And as I've gotten older, it's bothered me more. It really does bother me that I don't love perfectly, that there's always self in there. And it really, the way this has really panned out in my life is that I will really try to do the right thing by my enemies. I really will try to forgive my enemies. And I end up treating people who care about me like crap sometimes. And that bothers me a lot. frequently and at great depth. It bothers me, and I I realize if I want to get past that, if I want to be the person who can love perfectly, I gotta die. That's not going to happen in this life, and I think my own life has shown me that. And so I did start to turn my mind to that. That maybe death is this jumping off place where we really do go to the place where we get what we want, where we really do. I mean, maybe it is better than anything I can, we talk about heaven, but we don't talk about it in specifics. And I do want to talk about that maybe in a later video with y'all. But I had a cat, Reuben, when I was 15 years old. I lived in a terribly dysfunctional family with hateful mother, hateful stepfather, hateful sibling. I mean, it was not, and I probably was hateful too. I don't think I laid traps for other people like they did, but I think I was very rough and tumble. And we had a cat. The odd thing was everybody, well, my older sister could be really hard on the cat, but she cloaked it as loving the cat, but she was very rough on the cat. But my mom and my stepfather actually did love animals, especially stepfather. And so we got this little cat, this little kitten whose mother had been shot in the woods. And I stumbled upon her at school and just loved her. Just from the beginning, she was so sweet. But I thought she was a boy, so we named her Reuben. She was a girl. So Reuben never meowed, and I think that may have been that maybe the mom cat has to teach the babies to meow, so she didn't know how to meow. So she really didn't vocalize, except she trilled all the time. She would trill, and I was her favorite person because I was very gentle with her, and she would wait for me when I came home from school. She'd always be up on my bed, and just as I would walk into my room, she would stretch. She would just have it all timed perfectly, and that was like her way of welcoming me. And she had a way of greeting me where how cats they'll kind of butt their head into you, but she would put her ears over sideways. She would kind of flatten them out sideways so I could kiss her on top of her head. And she just was a wonderful cat. And we sadly had a neighbor, Bill Brecker, or Bob Brecker. His last name was Brecker. He was a very cruel man. He killed her. Um, and it was heartbreaking. I felt like I had lost my best friend in all my life. I've missed Reuben. And I did think, what if you got across that chasm, but you get Reuben back? I've never stopped missing Reuben. She just was a wonderful cat, very sweet. Some cats I do, they go nuts on you. They suddenly scratch it. Not Reuben. She just was always gentle, always kind, and kind of mothered me as much as a cat can. And when she had her one and only kitten, she had the kitten in my bedroom closet, and I realized that was to be close to me at night, so that she would be there and I would be there. So I really loved her. So I did think about that, like maybe I'm really scared of that jump. I'm scared of the high jump, but the other end of it is so inviting. I don't dare to think about it because it's hard to believe you could be that happy. But then my neighbor Carolyn, I was running errands with her, and she was very insightful because I was talking about this, and it was hard for her to get her mind wrapped around this. And she said, "But this is what we do. We live, and we have to work at being charitable, and we fail, and we ask God to forgive us, and this is what we do." And I said, "Well, Carolyn, I'm tired of being a sinner. I don't want to be a sinner anymore. That actually death might be a better choice." And she said, "No, this is what we do." And she kind of kept saying it that way. And then it finally dawned on me, this is the calling of the Christian on earth, that it is a prideful thing or a greedy thing to say to God, "Hey, stop my train. I want to get off my train," because it may be that this is his will to continue to struggle like this. And God says when the struggle is over. So bearing that in mind, like that, I thought, okay, I have had issues with trying to find a reason to live after the work that I was doing became too hard for me and my health just broke down so badly. And I don't want to say that all I want to do is sit on my porch and drink coffee and make videos. There's got to be more to serving God than that. But like I did realize, you you have to obey God, whether you have the strength and the ability and the spirit to go after wicked fundamentalist preachers who rape kids and beat their wives. There's that sure, that's service to God, however imperfectly I may have done it. But there is also service to God in being kind to your neighbor and really doing your work and trying to be a good person in the workplace and a person that other people can turn to for help and support. That's also serving God. So I've had those thoughts on my mind. So that's really it. Tomorrow is the biopsy, and I appreciate your prayers for that. As I understand it, I'll be given 2 sedating drugs, fentanyl and another drug that's in the Valium family. So not totally out, it's not like anesthesia, but definitely feeling good. The nurse told me you will not care about the biopsy. So I thought, okay, good. So, and then the biopsy, and then my friend Terry is taking me, and then Lord willing, I'll be spending the night at her house until I'm, I guess, recovered from both biopsy and sedation enough, Lord willing, on Saturday to drive home. And I'm taking the 2 dogs with me. So we'll be driving back on Saturday. So that's it. That is the update. So I appreciate your prayers and thank you very much for your comments. I really love getting comments and messages from you. Those encourage me a great deal. So thanks very much for listening. And Lord willing, I'll fill you in when I know more. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.